Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be playing Chemicalized Salamander. This is the new Rush Pyro deck for Maddox. It's super fun, I've been enjoying it a lot. My list that I have on screen isn't really the most optimal. I'll talk about what I think is the most optimal, but I think that you guys will really enjoy this, and let's get into it. So, for the skill, we are playing Fatal Roar. Can be activated from turn 2 and onward. During a turn, you have normal or special summoned a normal monster face up. If all the monsters in your constructor deck are Pyro, and all of the effect monsters have 100 or more defense points, which means that you can't play like Spice the Elite Neural Ninja and the other cards. So then top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. If you do not have a face-up level 7 or higher effect monster on your field, you can also add one level 7 or lower monster with 1500 or more defense from your graveyard to your hand. Cool. So this card allows you to set up your graveyard plays for cards like your Scales of Flame, and your Chemicalized Salamander, and your Talismanic Seal Array, and just burn your opponent. And then it also lets you draw cards. So excellent skill, 10 out of 10. And it's important to note that it requires you to not have a level 7 effect monster, which means that level 7 normal monsters are fair game. And so that's where the hype comes in. Okay, let's talk about my list first, and then I'll tell you what you should change if you have all the cards. So I'm playing one copy of Analyze Phlogiston because I love this card and I want it to work so bad, and I still haven't made it work yet. Level 7 Fire Pyro Monster, 2300 attack, 2300 defense. Requirement, send a spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard. Shuffle 3 Pyro monsters whose total levels equal the total levels of level 8 or lower attack position monsters on the opponent's field from your graveyard into the deck. Then destroy all level 8 or lower attack position monsters on your opponent's field. You can only attack with one monster this turn. Okay, so let's say that your opponent's board is like Cyber Dragon, and then Cyber Search Dragon, which I think is a level 8. So that's a 5, a 5, and an 8. So that's 18. That's 18 levels. So you would have to shuffle 3 monsters from your graveyard into your deck whose levels exactly equal that. That'd be like a level 7, a level 7, and a level 4. And then you can destroy all of your opponent's monsters, but you can only attack with one monster. It's really cool. The main problem that I've run into is not so much lining up the levels perfectly. I can usually actually do that. The bigger problem is the pitch a spell or a trap from your hand to the graveyard. That's a big cost. I really want to use my spells and traps for other things. So yeah, I've often found myself where I was just checking my graveyard like, oh, I can actually use Phlogiston, and then I'll go back to my hand. I'm just like, oh, I already played all my spells and traps. So it's rough. It's rough. It's a cool card. I like the artwork. I like the idea, but I feel like there are better cards for the competitive version of the deck. Next up, we are playing 2 copies of Chemicalized Salamander. This is because I only have 2 at the moment. Level 7 Fire Pyro Monster with 2500 attack and 1500 defense. Shuffle 3 Pyro monsters from your graveyard into the deck. All face-up monsters on your opponent's field lose attack equal to the number of monsters in your opponent's graveyard times 100 until the end of the turn. That's amazing. Turn 7 or 8, this is going to deal like 3000 damage to your opponent. So it's a great effect, and you just want to keep feeding your graveyard with Fatal Roar to make sure that you can always use Chemicalized Salamander's effect. We are playing 1 copy of Flame Ruler. This is a legendary fire monster. It has 1500 attack and 1600 defense, which is great stats. Set it face down. Your opponent can't beat over it with a level 4. This card can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a fire attribute monster in attack position. Perfect. You can tribute it and get an extra level 7 on your board. Excellent. And it also can be added back to your hand from the graveyard with the skill. Next up, we have Ember, the Hyper Assistant at 2. This is a card you want to play 3 of. Level 4 Pyro Fire Monster with 800 attack and 1500 defense. If your opponent has a monster on your field, send this card to the graveyard. Special summon a level 7 or higher Pyro Monster from your hand to the field. And if you have Ember, the Super Assistant, in your graveyard, the monster special summoned by this effect gains 800 attack until the end of the turn. So if your opponent has a monster, then Ember, the Hyper Assistant, basically lets you normal summon for 1 tribute, but it's also a special summon, which means that your opponent can't activate effects that would activate if you normal summon a monster. And then she gives 800 attack points if you have Ember, the Super Assistant, in your graveyard, which you usually will. So cool. Good card. Chromatographagus. Level 7 Pyro Monster with 2500 attack and 600 defense. Perfectly fine. Gurmalu, level 4 Pyro Monster with 1500 attack, 400 defense. We want as many normal monsters in our deck as possible to trigger the skill, so we're playing 3 copies of this, 3 copies of Ember the Super Assistant, and 3 copies of Dr. Red Robe. So that's 14 normal monsters. Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards. Scale Flame, shuffle a Pyro Monster from your graveyard into the deck. 1 Pyro Monster on your field gains 500 attack until the end of the turn. Then you can make 1 face-up monster on your opponent's field, lose 500 attack until the end of the turn. So that's basically like a mini Roroku, and all you need is to have a Pyro Monster in your graveyard. That's insane. And it's not once per turn. So yeah, Scales of Flame, 3 of, easy. Next up we have Fiery Blaze. If you have 2 or more Pyro Monsters on your field, burn your opponent for 300, then you can destroy 1 spell or trap on your opponent's field. Cool. I like the added effect of dealing 300 damage to your opponent. That's pretty nice. Talismanic Seal Array. Shuffle 4 monsters from your graveyard into the deck. 1 face-up monster on your opponent's field loses attack equal to its level times 200 until the end of the turn. This is just necessary with all the fusion monsters still running around. It's pretty good. Negate attack. Negate attacks. Combustion Crisis. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, inflict 600 damage to your opponent, and then if your opponent has 2 or more face-up level 7 monsters on their field, you can also shuffle 1 monster on your opponent's field into the deck. And lastly, 2 copies of Music Princess's Recital, which was a free card that we got 3 copies of with the Gaia deck. When an opponent's level 8 or lower monster on the field declares an attack while you only have 1 monster on the field, negate the attack. Cool. Okay, so this is my version of the deck. Now, what would I recommend you guys change? So, first of all, Combustion Crisis, if you have 3 of them, play 3 of them. It's a good card. It's in a deck building box, so if you went into the deck building box, you got all 3 copies very easily, and it's just, you know, a little bit of burn goes a long way in a burn deck, and then you also have the ability to just bounce cards, which there are a lot of level 7s currently in the meta, especially with the Sea Serpent deck running around. So yeah, this will be an easy counter. Then a card that I do not have on this account that I played before is Secret Order. Secret Order is a limit 3 spell card. Special summon a level 7 normal monster from your hand or graveyard to your field. This turn, that monster is special summoned by the effect gains 700 attack points and cannot be destroyed by your opponent's traps. So, what you want to do, you want to cut Analyze Phlogiston, and you want to cut, I think, the Talismanic Seal Arrays. So you cut these 3 cards, and then maybe 1 Recital. Play 3 copies of Secret Order and 3 copies of Chromatographus. That way you can get a 3200 attack monster on the field really easily, and then you can also activate the skill, mill 3, and since you don't control a effect monster, you'll be able to get another monster back from your graveyard. So the skill triggers if you normal or special summon a normal monster, so it triggers off of Secret Order, and since Chromatographus is not an effect monster, then you still get to use the skill even though he's on the board to add a card from your graveyard to your hand, which will usually be your Chemicalized Salamander. Salamander you should play at 3 as well. So 0 of, 3 of, 1 of, 3 of, 3 of, 3 of, 3 of, 3 of, 1 of, 3 of, 3 of, 0, 1, 3, 0. I think that adds up to like not quite 40. So if it goes over, then cut the red robes, I guess. Yeah, there you go. That is how the deck plays. So let's go ahead and take a look at a replay. So we're going second against Gaia the Fierce Knight with Heroes. Our opening hand is just 1 Super Assistant plus a trap, a spell, and a Chemicalized Salamander. The opponent goes, they summon Avian Tribute into Curse of Dragon in set 2. Alright, it's our turn. We drew Negate Attack, which also does not give us any tributes, so we're going to summon Ember the Super Assistant and use the skill. We mill 3, and then we get to add another Super Assistant back so we can normal summon and activate Fiery Blaze. We pop the Secret Order Tribute 2 to summon Chemicalized Salamander. We have, at this point, enough monsters in our graveyard to use Chemicalized Salamander's effect, but the opponent only has one monster in their graveyard, so it would only reduce the monster's attack points by 100, so we're not going to do that. We attack, and we waste his negate attack. Right. Yes, sir. Activate Monster Calling, pitch the Curse of Dragon, draw a card, special summon it from the graveyard. Second Monster Calling, pitch Curse of Dragon, draw a card, special summon from the graveyard. Tribute 2 for Gaia the Fierce Knight. Activate Star Restart to revive the Curse of Dragon. That's crazy. Mill Burstinatrix, add Burstinatrix and Polymerization from deck to hand. Activate Polymerization. Fuse Gaia and Curse of Dragon into Gaia the Conqueror of Champions. Normal summon Burstinatrix, Gaia the Conqueror of Champions effect. Return one card from the graveyard to the deck to pop a spell or trap. He hits the Music Princess's Recital, and then he attacks. We negate attack. It's our turn. We draw 3, and we're going to normal summon our 2 level 4s. Activate the skill, mill 3. We cannot add a card from the graveyard to the hand because we control a level 7 effect monster, but we will activate Chemicalized Salamander's effect, shuffle 3 back, to reduce the attack points of all monsters on the field by 400. Then we activate Scale of Flames. We return one more card. We give Dr. Redrobe 500 attack points, reduce Gaia the Conqueror of Champions attack points by 500. Set 1. Beat over, beat over, beat over. Okay. We take out the opponent's entire board. They're down to 3,800. It's their turn. They normal summon Rising Hero Argent, reveal the top 4 cards of their deck, and they hit both Avian and Burstinatrix, which is crazy. So they draw Avian and they draw Burstinatrix. Activate Secret Order, bring back Gaia the Fierce Knight with 3,000 attack points. Summon another Argent, reveal Avian, Fusion, Gaia, and Fusion. So they draw another Avian. So they've literally hit 3 extra cards this turn. Set 2, activate the skill, mill, give 600 more attack points, and then pass. Okay. We draw, we activate Fiery Blaze, we pop one of the face down cards, normal summon, and then we beat over, but we do not have... Okay, so I made a mistake here. I normal summoned Flame Ruler, which is not a normal monster. So I was like, oh, I can, normal summon Flame Ruler, and then I'll be able to tribute just Flame Ruler for a level 7, but I couldn't activate the skill because I didn't normal summon a normal monster. So I ended up having to pass because I didn't have any space left to summon anything else. He summons Avian and Burstinatrix, activates Fusion, fuse into Burst Wingman. Burst Wingman effect. He pops one of our back row and then beats over. It's our turn. We draw 3 more. Normal summon, activate the skill. Get back the Phlogiston, which we absolutely... he has a 7 and a 6 on the board, so we absolutely can do this. That's 13. We had 7, 4, and 2 in the graveyard. So we absolutely could have done this if I had a spell or trap in my hand, but I didn't. Special summon the Chemicalized Salamander with 800 extra attack points. Activate the skill, or the effect. Reduce their attack points. Beat over, and that's game. So there you go. Even against multiple fusion monsters, even against multiple spells and trap destruction, we were able to build a board consistently, stay in control of the duel, and beat our opponent down. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.